this. Something we have actually gotten a little angry about earlier in the year, and that's a story surrounding Kathleen Kane. So yesterday she was, man, I feel like we're a broken record here. Always talking about it. Every other show.
Because she's always in the news. She's always doing something to bring herself up again.
So yesterday she stood at the National Constitution Center and basically announced the hiring of a special prosecutor to investigate this whole pornographic email
scandal.
Mess.
Porngate.
Porngate is what it's being called. And she stood up there and basically made the announcement that an independent, if you want to call it that, third party is going to review it. And that third party she chose was former Maryland Attorney General Doug Gansler, who actually ran for governor in Maryland and lost, and now he works at a D.C. law firm. But to further talk about this, we are now joined by John Baer. John Baer is a Daily News political columnist. John, thanks for joining us here on Rational Radio.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for having me.
So let's break this down a little bit. What the heck is going on with this? We have been talking about this for so long, and it just keeps going. I'm tired of hearing about this.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah,
I've been about this for so long. I mean, my favorite quote in all this so far is from my friend, I'm sure you know him, Dave Davies at WHYY, who said when it comes to Kathleen Kane stories, he wants to file a right not to know request.
Oh, that's great.
And I think a lot of people in the media are at that point because the stories are repetitive and redundant, and we keep talking about the same things over and over, and all of this from somebody who is about as embattled as you can be and still be in public office. So, I mean, it's one of those stories that if you tried to explain it to somebody from another state, I gotta think they just shake their head and walk away after a couple of minutes.
Of course.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just reading
We're beating a dead horse here. I mean, we're just keep talking about it, and it's just something needs to be done.
Honestly, I really like the way that you opened up the piece, talking about The Woman in White, about how it's also a British novel title about a woman escaped from an asylum.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
I feel like that's what we're looking at. We're looking at this crazed woman who is standing up there, like she keeps going forward with all this stuff, and it's like, when will it stop?
It's one of those stories I'd like to escape from.
Yeah, right. So looking further into this, I mean, she picks former Attorney General of Maryland, Doug Gansler, and he honestly hasn't been, he's had his fair share of criticism and problems while he was Attorney General in Maryland.
Well, he did, and you may remember, I mean, a lot of people have probably forgotten this, but he made national news while he was running for governor back in 2013. He ran in 2013, ran in 2014. He got photographed by the National Journal when he stopped into a teenage beach party. It was a group of kids that graduated high school, and he was looking for his son. One of his sons was the reason he was there. But he stayed there. There was underage drinking there. He appeared to be taking photographs with his phone. He later denied that and said he was simply reading text. But some of the photos show him looking at young girls, who are dressed for a beach party. And so it made, I mean, it was on Morning Joe, it was on other MTV shows. And and the question raised was, you're the Attorney General of Maryland, you're at a beach party where there's underage drinking, and what? You don't? And he said he didn't feel any moral authority to step in to other people's children in another state. Well, I mean, you're an adult and a lawyer, and there's people that are breaking the law. So, I mean, he had that kind of hanging around his neck going into that governor's race, and he had some other issues as well. So, and the irony to me was, I mean, here are two people, Kathleen Kane and Doug Gansler, who both at one point were shooting political stars. I mean, they both had been elected attorney generals in significant states. Both had been mentioned for governor. Gansler actually ran for governor, and both of them just sort of, nova'd out, just kind of imploded politically. So that's who you picked to do your special prosecutor stuff, and you're spending up to another $2 million for something that your office could have done,
right?
Or somebody outside the office could do. Just the fact that, I mean, one of the Ryans mentioned independent when we started this. It's tough to be independent of an office when that office is paying you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, thinking about this, I mean, you now have a guy who was, they say, at this pool party, and he's going to be the one looking into pornographic emails,
Doesn't
seeing
make any
where
sense.
they went, who they went to. I mean, it's this whole thing is weird.
Every time you turn around, there's another weird aspect of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so another thing that I think is interesting is lots of people are talking about whether she actually has the authority to, appoint him or have him, or does he have any legal authority in Pennsylvania, not being a member of the Pennsylvania bar?
Yeah, I mean, how silly is that? I mean, here you have
Right.
the sitting attorney general that doesn't have a law license, hiring an outside counsel who doesn't have a law license in Pennsylvania. Boy.
I know.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of questions about her authority at every step, and particularly if we get to the stage where he or somebody on his behalf wants to issue a subpoena or file criminal charges or recommend criminal charges. Every time there is some action taken, that authority of hers is going to be questioned.
Yeah, and I was reading a bunch of different articles about this, and one article, I forget where I read it, but there was a person quoted as saying that once he goes to file that first action, you better believe that there'll be a court challenge there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're looking at litigation for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I think is interesting right now, this is taking place amidst all of the Senate subcommittee that's currently that has recommended a hearing as to whether to vote Governor Wolf should remove her from office.
Yeah.
And there was an article that I found in the Washington Times saying that if the Senate votes for it, he thinks he'll have to go along with it and remove her right there.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, if you read the provision in the Constitution, it says the governor shall. It doesn't say the governor may.
Yeah.
And he Wolf had a little press conference today and was asked about that, and basically he's kind of hedging and waiting to see what the Senate does, but has said in the past that he will certainly look at what the Senate does, get an interpretation of the Constitution, and act accordingly to uphold the Constitution. And if that's the case, he seems almost like an ancillary player. And, Brian, I mean, the biggest criticism of this constitutional provision is legal experts will tell you it seems odd that it seems like if you have a provision for impeachment, as we do,
Yeah.
this is impeachment without a trial.
Yeah.
Because under the impeachment provision, you have the House impeaches, and then the Senate holds a trial. Under this provision, the House has no role, and it appears the governor has no role other than to sign a document of some kind.
Yeah.
So all of this, too, means further litigation down the road to our court and maybe to federal courts, although federal courts generally like to stay out of state business.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where this goes. I mean, I think where we're at right now, we're maybe just at the beginning of it, but I'm wondering how many more emails does she have to release? Like, why? She keeps doing them in these, like, little spurts, and she's like, oh, here, I'll release some here, and then, we'll wait 2 months, and then I'll release some more here. I'll go after all these different people. I mean, like, just the fact, the instances surrounding her release, I think is somewhat questionable.
Also questionable, and a lot of people have suggested that she's using that pattern as weapons.
Yeah.
That whenever she's backed into a corner, she brings out some more. Supposedly, I mean, the numbers have varied from tens of thousands to 100,000. There have been about 4,000 released so far. So I guess that's why it's going to cost up to $2 million.
Yeah.
To go through another, potentially,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just, the fact that I think, she was in just way over her head when she took this job. I mean, I don't think, there are some type of progression that people take before they, run for governor or before they run for attorney general. They don't go from assistant district attorney right up to attorney general. And now I think we may be seeing that lack of experience.
Well, that certainly played out as bad things started to unfold. I mean, remember, her first year in office was so positive that people were talking about drafting her for governor in 2014. So she had this terrific start, including probably the highlight when she was at the National Constitution Center, same-sex marriage. She made national news on a number of issues, closing a critical Florida loophole gun law that affects Pennsylvania, denying Governor Corbett's attempt to privatize the lottery, and then her bold then statement on DOMA, on not going to defend what was then the state ban on same-sex. But as soon as she had a problem after problem was mishandled, mismessaged, and it just showed, as you suggest, sort of lack of experience, newness to the political process at this level. And since then, she's just sort of collapsed. Train wreck keeps on wrecking.
Yeah. I mean, we've watched it unfold right here. I mean, we've said multiple times that, why not just step aside and just, I mean, you have so much going on right now in your life. You have these criminal charges that are pending against you, and you have all this stuff, all this negativity surrounding you. Why not just say, hey, I'm going to step aside, focus on one thing? She's like, no, I'm going to take everything head on.
Yeah, it's not in her nature. I mean, it is that, Cole region Irish Catholic kind of attitude that can serve her very well in some areas and not so well in others. And, the other thing about this, Ryan, is that her basic contention that she has from the beginning been ostracized by the Old Boys Club, been targeted by a group of men that belong to the place, prosecutors, judges, lawyers. All of that is a terrific story if there was real proof of it.
Yeah.
And there's just enough, just a couple of slivers. For instance, why was she prosecuted for leaking grand jury material when grand jury leaks happen all the time?
Right.
Including in her own grand jury. Yeah. Why was there no investigation of the leak to the Philadelphia Inquirer about her grand jury before it was made public? So, I mean, there's a slivers of things that kind of make her case that she has been selectively prosecuted, selectively ostracized, and that kind of keeps her going. And she does have a level of supporters out there who buy into that and who are very willing and able to accept the theory that she is being unfairly dealt with and being railroaded. And I can tell you, in Pennsylvania politics, the notion of an old boys network is totally believable and largely true. I mean, Pennsylvania is one of the worst states in terms of the percentage of women in public office. The state has never elected a woman governor, never elected a woman senator, has no women in its entire congressional delegation.
Yeah.
So there is sort of this landscape that plays into her narrative, and that's why I think we keep hearing that.
Yeah, but I mean, that was exactly my next question is, in everything you've looked at, is this, to what she's claimed, to the extent she's claimed, is the Old Boys Network, an actual thing, or is she kind of blowing it out of proportion?
Yes to both of those.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I think it's an actual thing, and yes, I think she blows it out of proportion. I mean, you still have a hard time getting around perjury.
Yeah.
No matter what else anybody did to her or tried to do to her. And no matter the email, not good, bad things to do in public office, still doesn't excuse charges of perjury.
Right.
Unless you're willing to believe that the whole thing was trumped up, she's completely innocent, and all would be proven to be that.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at this, do you think where we are at right now, do you think this still would have happened if, say, right after the criminal charges were brought against her, she said, hey, I'm going to step back and resign, just not even engage in any of this?
Well, or just take a leave.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to appoint the first deputy to run the place. I'm going to focus on my family and these charges, and once I'm cleared, I'll come back. Yeah.
And I mean, she said that she wants to be, a model for her kids, show them never to give up, to always keep going. But every time she gets up there to talk and say that, her job right now is mainly administrative work. I mean, I don't know. I find that just somewhat hard to believe that as the Attorney General, it's mostly administrative work that she's doing.
Well, there's a lot of administrative work, no question. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I hired administrators.
I mean, it's, just a lot of it. I feel like there's so many legal decisions that she has to make where that, that law license, comes into play, and not having one hampers her ability to remain in that position.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's out of control, I think. I mean, the fact that we have our Attorney General of the state sitting there without a law license, you effectively can't do your job. You can't do your job effectively.
and I think you need to still be a somewhat of a role model for the rest of the state.
Of course, yes,
saying
yes.
that, your top cop will follow the laws.
Oh, 100%.
And then you have someone up there who allegedly has not done that.
It just makes you think what else is going on in other high authorities within this country,
Right.
within this state. You don't know what's going on. It's just scary to think that. But
Well, and the whole trickle-down thing. I mean, whatever cases are pending or in action during this period do then come under appeal because of questions about her authority to even serve office and stuff.
Yeah, no. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens going forward. John Baer from the Daily News. John, thanks so much for
Thank you very
joining
much
us
for joining
here
us.
on Rational Radio.
You guys both, thanks for having me.
yeah,
No problem.
no
Hope
problem.
you come back soon.
All right, man.
All right. So, yeah, it's just very interesting all around to talk about. I mean, just like, why?
I don't know. I think that's the big question surrounding this whole case. Why? Why is this such a big, why is this, you bring up a good point. Why does she only send out little emails at a time? Why didn't she just, say, here they all are?
Could you imagine? He said up to 100,000.
And then you're going to go and you're going to appoint your lead prosecutor who is also wrapped in scandal.
This dude, he says he was looking at his phone. He was responding to text messages. What are you doing you're looking for your son?
Why are you responding to text messages in that environment when you're supposed to be looking for your son?
Yeah, if you're looking for your son, I mean, you're not, if you're really looking for him, you're going to call him.
You would think that she would appoint someone who has a clean slate, no blemishes whatsoever, but no, you're going to pick someone who's going to even have this wrapped around it? Come on.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Literally, you could pick anybody.
Literally anybody.
Yeah.
And she picks a guy who's wrapped in
Also,
an underage drinking scandal.
Yeah, where,
he was supposedly might have been taking pictures of, allegedly might have been taking pictures of.
Yeah, who knows? This is, of all the states you could have picked, too. I mean, Maryland shares a border with Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Why not say, hey, I'm going to pick someone from I was going to say Texas, but that, I mean, I feel like she, would pick someone who may align with her ideology. Doug Gansler is a Democrat. Probably
California?
California, yeah, you could pick California.
California, yeah.
I feel like you pick, if you want to align someone with your, who's within your party, pick a moderate Democrat to look into it. But honestly, this is weird. This is,
Yeah, it's weird. Really weird.
Someone who's involved in scandal, picking someone else who has scandal surrounding them.
Not the smartest
$2 million,
too.
too.
$2 million, waste of money.
And then they say
your own office could have taken care of this,
right? And then they say you're to expect court challenges once he goes and tries to make a move. So then that's going to delay everything.
Of
and
course.
This is never gonna end.
No, it's not. We're looking at another year or two that this is going to be dragging out.
She's done. 2016 is an election year for the Attorney General. I mean, this could be going on long after she's gone.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which, honestly, is then stupid.
So stupid.
Then
it doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Who cares?
Who cares? She's out of office. It's done and over with.
Because then it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. 3 years ago when Kathleen Kane brought this out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember this. Oh, it's finally getting going now.